Everyone. I am Arpit Gupta. On behalf of ETGovernment and the Economic Times, I welcome all of you to this special session on digital innovations at PSUs. In achieving the $5 trillion goal for India, several PSUs are now investing in modern age technology and transforming their businesses modules into digital. However, the space of adopting niche technology to drive innovation and upgrade network and digitalization in PSUs needs to be accelerated. To lead the panel discussion, I am joined by very eminent leaders from the public sector and industry as well. Let me join and welcome our esteemed panelists. I'll start with Mr. C.K. Prasad, Executive Director, RailTel Corporation of India Limited. Welcome, sir. I also welcome Mr. Manoj Kumar, Director, Government E-Marketplace, GEM, Ministry of Commerce and Industries, Government of India. Welcome, Mr. Kumar.
Good evening, Gaurav. Yeah.
I also welcome Mr. Prem Kumar Jha, Chief General Manager, IT, Steel Authority of India Limited. Welcome, Mr. Jha. I welcome Mr. Shilohu Rao, NJP, General Manager, Capacity Building, RTI, Public Grievance Cell, National eGovernance Division, NeGD, Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India. Welcome, Mr. Rao. And last but not the least, I also welcome Ms. Suganthi Shivkumar, Vice President, Asia, Alteryx. Welcome, Suganthi.
Thank you for having me on the panel.
To begin the panel discussion, I would like to first go to Mr. C.K. Prasad by asking the first question. Mr. Prasad, what are the challenges and opportunities for Indian PSUs if they embrace digital transformation? And what lessons did you learn during the pandemic while adopting digital first policy to optimize your business and processes? Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Arpit. As for RailTel, which is a central PSU under the Ministry of Railways, being a mini Ratna company, we had our telecom, we went to telecom business where we provide B2B services and also B2C through partnership model where we have partners who are cable TV operators, LCOs and access network providers to whom we provide broadband connections to homes and also to SMBs. We had our business support system and operation support system, which was there, and it was on a traditional architecture. And going forward, we were getting some projects from railways, which was to accelerate their journey. And we wanted to basically, we want to take an approach which where we don't get into any lock-in for technology, or we should basically go with a roadmap where the technology can be resilient, which can be scalable, and which can be manageable. Definitely, availability and reliability are important factors when we adopt technology. Indigenous technology, definitely, some of them components, if it is indigenous, it also helps us to have a long-term support from existing OEMs. So considering this gamut of things, because the direction and the roadmap, we think what we did is we wanted to go with modernizing our infrastructure. So we went with a hyper-converged infrastructure where which takes a lesser form factor, which is more energy efficient and low carbon footprint. And also the hyper-converged infrastructure, as you know, that the compute and storage are integrated, and the network component, also the fabric is there, which helps in faster rollout of the services or deployment of the applications. And on top of that, we went with the entire stack of software-defined data center architecture. So whether it was compute or storage or network, and also the orchestration layer, everything was basically developed, or basically I should say that we went with something which is validated architecture, so that we don't have any surprise at the later part of the day when we do deploy the applications, the workloads across our data centers. So with that approach, we started working, and just prior to pandemic, we had finalized our roadmap. And before the pandemic, we also placed the order for all those IT infrastructure piece. And just before pandemic, we were started rolling out these services unit by unit. So we had a task where we had to digitize the workspace for Indian Railways, which was primarily they were using paper-based file systems and all. And so we started with doing a unit by unit, one by one. Initial phase, because we wanted to have the quick, small baby steps to see that it succeeds, because there was a change management part also. The people were tuned to use paper, and we had to move them to digital platform. So we did on the traditional system which we are having it, but subsequently we got all our hyper-converged infrastructure delivered. We started doing the next units on those infrastructure, and then migrated the one which we delivered on the traditional architecture. So what we going forward, what we did is we went with a validated design. We did the entire design validation, and went with the rollout in a cluster formation. So parallelly, our deployment was going on. At the same time, we were also doing the rolling out the applications, and also training the people down below, so that they can start using, onboarding them, creating the master data record and other things. But as we reached the pandemic, since the challenge was to keep the systems up and running, people were not able to reach that. We managed to keep some people near the facility, near the data center, by taking some accommodation very close to them, so they can go and walk down to the data center. And we accelerated the deployment of the automation piece, so that we can access the infrastructure remotely and do the configuration from there. So that is how we try to manage the challenges which we faced in that time. But one thing which gave us the automation and the cloud infrastructure, which we did the deployment across our 2 data centers in active mode, helped us in faster deployment of the services. So the time given to us was 1 year for close to 2 lakh onboarding of 2 lakh employees across different locations, and which we completed in 6 months' time. So that was something which we could achieve, and people were productive. They were able to work from home. Even for some time till June, when it was hard lockdown, people were using that from home, and then subsequently people started going to office, and they were able to work in hybrid mode also. So definitely the technology roadmap and the automation helped us in circumventing this problems of COVID lockdown, and we were able to successfully deploy that.
Now, I'll go to Mr. Manoj to understand what initiatives were undertaken by GEM during the COVID-19 pandemic to soften the blow to MSMEs for procurement of supplies on the platform, and what is the technology roadmap for the future at GEM. Over to you, Mr. Kumar.
Well, Arpit, as majority of the panelists are already aware that the prime mandate of government e-marketplace is to ensure become a unified public procurement website for all the government related purchases, including the CPSEs and the state governments as well. As we know, this pandemic has hit us very hard. And in order to soften the blow, specifically answering to your query, during last 1 year, we have received around 55% of our all sales have happened to MSEs. You may be aware that around 1 lakh crores of GMV transactions were executed through GEM in the financial year 21-22. Out of that, around 55 lakh crore worth of transactions have actually gone to MSEs, which itself is a proof that financially they were supported through orders placed through government e-marketplace. Other than that, actually last year means when the pandemic had started in, when the lockdowns were announced, during that time, Ministry of Finance had issued a guideline that EMD shall be exempted, means all the sellers shall be exempted from paying the earnest money deposit, which is an integral component of any of the contract. So GEM has incorporated that guideline immediately, almost immediately, within a gap of just a week. we have provided that IT functionality, and we have made all the buyers aware about this, even some of the buyers who didn't know about it. Other than that, we had given a relaxation of about the caution money, which is a mandatory requirement of before uploading any of your products or services onto the GEM portal. There is a policy that vendors have to pay a certain amount of caution money. So that part was made non-mandatory. Other than that, for various buyers, we had set up exclusively more call centers because of the flexibility what we had in terms of working from home, being a tech-driven company. This is the advantage what we had. More than that, what I would I would like to pinpoint that there were a lot of medical categories which were available on GEM, which we have migrated to the COVID categories, wherein different kind of opportunities what the buyers had in terms of like opening a given tender bid within 3 days, and MSEs. They were made aware about these changes in the policies because of the functional necessities, because we are dealing with something bigger here, because here it is something like buyers here do take the precedence when it's a matter of life and death for supplying the medical equipment. So they were made aware by holding a number of virtual sessions about these changes, because we did not want that these situation-driven changes which are mandated onto the portal. Because of it, any of the MSEs buyers, they are because of non-knowing about the changes, they should not suffer. Other than that, we have also introduced priority approval. In COVID cases, there is a usual turnaround time of around 4 to 5 days whenever a seller uploads its product onto the portal. For these COVID categories, for MSMEs, we had introduced that within a given duration of within 2 days, all the product catalogs will be approved and they will be able to participate in any of the bids. So our response to COVID was very, we had to play a balancing act in terms of meeting the urgent requirements of the buyers. At the same time, let the MSEs also make their business, because it's a matter of survival for them as well, because everywhere everything was closed. The number of orders were totally stagnant. We had from taken an administrative action. We had written multiple letters to all the all the central PSCs to accelerate their purchases wherever possible. Preferably they must abide by MSE order of 2012, wherein a given chunk of their order yearly purchases must be procured through MSEs. So we were taking initiative from both from the tech side as well as administrative decisions. We were trying to fast track that. And in fact, just to support the healthcare sector, we had, in fact, just to give you a figure, around, I think, 7,500 crores of COVID-related categories business was done. I mean, these many orders were actually, completed by various sellers. I must commend the sellers have also come up to the best of their potential, and they have delivered most of these goods. The delivery rate, although they were slightly delayed, but they have completed the order despite different kind of hardships that everybody was facing. So there were different medical equipments like, rapid antigen test kits, or say ambulance services, which were prominently utilized by all the buyers. They were supported by majority of the cases. They were MSME suppliers who were actually doing this. So yes, and going forward, as the situation has slightly eased out, we have we are gradually trying to roll back those excessive flexibilities what we have incorporated into the system, because of course these exigent situation cannot be the generic norms. We do have to ensure that the public portal remains up to the mark of maintaining the quality and exigency of both in a balancing way. So maybe over a period of next 1 quarter, we'll be gradually rolling down all these exigent measures what we have taken. And to answer your second part of question, that how we are going to means technologically upgrade to meet the new challenges about the more slightly who are less privileged class of sellers. GEM has introduced actually 8 outlet windows on its portal, wherein the sellers from the more disadvantageous side sections of the society, say the tribal areas or the self-help groups or the women entrepreneur, SC/ST women, SC/ST entrepreneurs, there are certain categories which we have earmarked for their supplies. They can very well go onto the GEM portal and exclusively participate in the bids against them. Buyers can go and readily on a single tender inquiry basis, they are also going for many of the handicrafts items or the handloom items. There are a number of initiatives what GEM has already taken, and we have seen good amount of response also from the buyers. So towards social inclusivity, this is one of the actions what GEM has means already taken in past, and we are keep on enhancing over that. Moreover, going further, we are also planning to incorporate several of the AI services which are technologically, which will be more useful for the CPSEs also, like latest technologies like blockchain or say AI, ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning. These kind of services which are slightly less used in the government setup, we have made exclusive services for them. So this is our services is a section where GEM is slightly less explored as of now. So this is what we want the PSUs and other government departments also to incorporate in their digital transformation plan. So, and just one more point I'd like to just put in here, that in addition to being a procurement portal, GEM has also taken an initiative to integrate a forward auction module as well, wherein the auction and the purchase can be unified in a single portal, and using the same credentials of the login IDs what the CPSEs and the government buyers are already having, they can function as the sellers of their scrap goods or the immovable properties. So these are the ways how GEM is planning to expand in the near future.
But before that, I would like to go to Mr. Prem Jha to understand what has been the challenges of Steel Authority in terms of embracing digital transformation, and what lessons did he learn during the pandemic while adopting digital first policy to optimize business, operations, and processes. Over to you, Mr. Jha.
Thank you, Arpit. I think taking from GEM itself, I think GEM was one of the facilitator during this pandemic, where we had a speed of procurement. But then coming back to the challenges Steel Authority has faced, the Steel Authority and particularly has a number of units like Bhilai Steel Plant, Durgapur, Bokaro, and there are many integrated steel plants, and then there are subsidiaries as well, and the larger network of marketing organization and also. So this integrated steel making is a big business, big complex business, where it's not only making steel, it is a power plant, it is a chemical industry, it is a the raw material making preparation, and then your blast furnace rolling, a number of technologies. So it's basically industry of industry. So the complexity is very large. And once you have a complexity of such scale where you are dealing with lakhs of items in terms of procurement, in terms of store spares, raw materials, imports and imports, all those things has to be managed. The logistics has to be there, and that was before that this pandemic was it was many processes were paper based or some approval based things, and which was we were not really prepared initially. That if you don't have, people are not employed at site because of pandemic, you have to have lean workforce, and then this the paper could be media of transmitting viruses and as well. So the neat thing that we did was we had a e-notes thing where in SAP we developed a approval system, and which was very effective, and this was a boon in disguise, because the people who used to carry files and go to bosses for approval and explaining their part of the logic or the arguments, nothing was required, and everything has to be done online, and all attachments has to be there, and then you cannot remove your old attachments. So the integrity was very, very important there, and all sort of notings and other things are very transparent, and actually it will go to the only people who are supposed to see. It's not that everybody can see. So that was one. eNoteSheet was a big success, and that we developed very, very fast, and it was well taken by, and it's still continuing, and that has, and many thanks have come to our side from IT to IT to give it this privilege. Then there was a number of centralized services. Like I said, we have almost 25 different units in Steel Authority, where separately they were having their own payroll system. Right? Now the payroll system at that time in 2020 or 2020, where we are more than 70,000 employees across different places and different units, and they were having different systems altogether, different architecture of processing the system. Then it came, and just before pandemic came, the idea came, why can we do this centralized? And then I took the challenge, and my team had taken the challenge. And by April 20, we could finish that job within 2.5 months and 2.3 months. And now, last 2 years, we are on a single system, that is the centralized payroll system, which is taking care of all payment from one place that is live. Okay. So all any payment done to employees are through this system, centralized system, and we have this again is a very big change element, where all data is coming through internet uploads, and then it is processed, and all intermediate processes are also thrown back to them to check the accuracy and their part of it. And finally, once it is accepted, then only we make a final thing. Securities are well taken care. So this was one centralization that was done. Then another thing was, like, there was a lot of problem in terms of getting materials from different units, because there were lockdowns. There were a lot of approval to be taken from administration to unlock it and get it, because there are a lot of different. This was made essential service part of it. So we got that exemption that we can run our industry, because you put down your blast furnace suddenly, and then it has to. If it is cold, then it will take a lot of time to revive. So that support we got from administration, from not only local, also other states also, and they understood our pain, and they all helped to get the inputs. So these are one part of this last part of it. Then now the major transformation, digital transformation, is basically on the part of Industry 4.0. So that is the new. Digitization and digitalization was one part, automation was another. Now the third, which is the right thing that we have to speed up, is the digital transformation in terms of using Industry 4.0. That is artificial intelligence, data analytics, video analytics. There we find huge opportunity in terms of change of process, optimization, cost savings, the efficiency, availability of equipments, reliability of your certain high cost elements, where the background is very background cost is very high. So there we are taking care of. Now we have initiated a lot of efforts in terms of digital transformation in our equipments, and this is not done on one unit. This is being done all across different units. We have made digital champions, and we have given certain targets. And we are also collaborating with various academia, like IITs and ITs and ITs. We have done a number of associations with a number of startups and many service providers. So that journey is a really exciting journey, which is taking care. But then to invest in that, again, PSUs have certain challenges. Like you have some process that you have to establish. You cannot. If I understand Arpit has a good proposition, I cannot simply give order. You have to compete among others, and then all that has to be proven that this order can be given to you. So that process, again, there also we are taking care how we can do it faster. So that cultural changes are happening. People are infused to learn on their own online courses, and then we are putting e-Pathshala, where we are sponsoring our junior people to take up new courses and learn and do. So that is the cultural change that we are doing. So going ahead, I think for PSU in general and STL authority in particular, I think there is an immense opportunity that is lying ahead, and we have to work harder and on a faster pace to get this outcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jha. Mr. Rao, I will come to you now to understand. While India is making its way for $5 trillion digital economy by 2025, PSUs have been embarking on digital journey in adopting new age technology. As before coming to you, the past panelists have also mentioned about investing in digital technologies and new age technologies like AI, ML, and etc. How has been your digital transformation journey, and how NeGD is mitigating the skill gap across the country while embarking on digital transformation journey? Over to you.
Thank you, Arpit, and thank you, my co-panelist and Economic Times for arranging such a wonderful and thought-provoking discussion. And with respect to your started and coming to your question, National eGovernance Division is functioning like a startup among the government. In a nutshell, the organization has a mandate to support central and ministries and also public sectors who are all delivering the government services, and NeGD functions as a startup. In fact, the culture of NeGD, if you look at here, we are very fluid and dynamic, and NeGD supports every ministry's effort in a best possible manner. Let me come back to you with pandemic. When pandemic struck in 2020, last 2 years, NeGD's role in transforming the government services is tremendous. In fact, I'm proud to say that NeGD is the forerunner for even GEM project. In fact, GEM was inception and conceptualized in NeGD. See, with regard to capacity building and government services, NeGD has come up with the last 2 years. We've been really involved in building the capacities of government employees and the state government employees, providing various technology support. One of the support projects which I'm personally getting involved is the learning management system, where we are promoting skill development and also promoting blended learning. And we are actually supported during this pandemic more than 100 training academies with a usage of 2.5 lakh enrolled users. And this was a tremendous support we have supported throughout last 2 years. And most of the training academies functioned virtual, and training and capacity building and induction training, everything, name it, everything in government has taken place. I'm proud to say that NeGD is supported in this in a great way. And apart from that, in learning management system, we also provided competency building framework, and we have arranged the lectures, and also we arranged the requisite skill sets to public webinars. So this is one culture was we introduced in the government arena in different emerging technologies. Let me name you. One of the initiatives we have taken is AI to Chapter. You've noticed every 1 week we have been involved with industry practitioners, and we brought out how AI can be utilized or applied in delivering government services. So very thought-provoking lectures have taken place in this space. And also we have brought Digital India Dialogues. And Digital India Dialogues, we brought several initiatives of government in emerging technologies, be it blockchain, be it virtual reality. We have name all cybersecurity. In every space, the dissemination of knowledge was taken place through this webinar. And very importantly, one of the interesting initiative done by NeGD was with the Ministry of Tourism, It's a webinar series. I hope if anyone would have seen this, an amazing content during the pandemic. We thought through that in order to support the tourism industry, we conducted immersive tours, name it from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, from Gujarat to Northeast. More than 400 sessions of tourism immersive sessions were conducted, and we showed the entire country length and breadth. And this kind of initiatives NeGD is supported to the central government organization. Apart from that, very specifically skill development when it comes to online. One of the issues we faced during this online and pandemic is cyber crimes, rise of cyber crimes. So in order to tackle the cyber crimes, we started a capacity building program completely online. We trained officers from police department, and we also trained judges and all the technical law enforcement agencies involved in bringing the culprits to bring the culprits to court, and we have really helped them out. And with this program, we onboarded nearly 500 officers from the various organizations, and recently we could able to successfully enable them to get a certification from a National Law University Bhopal in cyber law, cybercrime investigations, and digital forensics. It was a well appreciated skill development program. And in addition to this, we also come up with our own challenges in government. One challenge we faced is the VC applications, the virtual conferences, whichever we are taking place. Now we use most of the applications are actually based on foreign collaborations and foreign technology. So Ministry of Electronics and IT, in association with MyGov, come up with one nice initiative called Challenge, MyGov Challenge, and we successfully able to identify 4 native, made in India video conferencing applications. And one of the application I mentioned is the Digital India Video Entity application, and it's completely posted in India, safe and secure. Government communications can take place. Then we have actually come up with one more challenge, that the planetariums. We have a lot of planetariums across the country, and the students who can't go to the planetarium during the pandemic, and they have some kind of accessibility issues, especially rural students. And the government of India come up with one more challenge, that native-based technologies, and I won't believe it. Today we have more than 15 startup companies, and mostly thought that only the foreign companies are having the technology in this space, planetarium. Very soon you will see 5 to 6 Indian companies, and they're going to be very celebrated, and we could able to identify them in this challenge. So such initiatives, and with regard to initial statement you made, $5 trillion economy in 2025. It's a very ambitious, and it's on course. And I'm very sure the kind of initiatives government is taking place in this arena, the digital first policy, digital India program, and through all the supports we are extending to the ministries and state level organizations and the PSUs, I'm sure it's a reality is going to take place very soon.
Thank you, Mr. Rao, for sharing these insights, and now bringing Suganthi to the discussion. Suganthi, you heard Mr. Prasad, Mr. Kumar, Mr. Jha, and now Mr. Rao. While these PSUs are adopting digital first policy within their organizations for digital enabled employees and hybrid work culture, how can Alteryx enable PSUs in this transition with its innovative solutions? And what are your suggestions for the digital transformation journey of public sector organizations in India? Over to you.
Okay, thank you again for having me on this forum. It's extremely insightful listening to all the 4 gentlemen, preceding my contribution to this panel. And it's very enlightening and very encouraging to see, the plans towards the 5 trillion economy actually being executed upon, and it's manifesting, right? Especially accelerated during the pandemic, right? Through so much innovation, so much creativity, so much out-of-the-box thinking. In some ways, you tend to think that the pandemic has actually fast-tracked, what would have been done, probably without it. So maybe that's a blessing in disguise. And, the strengths have certainly emerged. Now, as we speak to clients and PSUs around the world, so Alteryx is definitely, it's a US company with a 25-year history, and we are singularly focused on data and automation, and automating and democratizing data analytics at scale, right? So we ingest data, we help of all types, including geospatial, including text, including data as we know it from traditional sources. We help to bring them together, help to enrich that data, manipulate and massage that data, and provide clean data pipelines for analytic applications. And beyond that, to also feed that into AI and ML applications, and then also do storyboarding around data stories, right? So an end-to-end platform. Now, as we talk to PSUs around the world, as well as in India, I think some of the most pressing challenges that have surfaced is definitely around upskilling and pervasively upskilling a workforce. So traditionally, all these solutions around data, data management, wrangling data, manipulating data, or even providing optics and stories around data has been contained to an IT department or the data analyst or the data scientist. But the pandemic has forced most PSUs to actually take this to a pervasive workforce. So the data competency and the data curiosity and the data literacy has been forced upon a workforce that is completely dispersed across the subcontinent, right? And it needs to be quickly developed as a core competency. So that's one area that we continue to help PSUs in, to enable and digitally enable. And when we say digitally enable, it's not just about digitization, because just digitally enabling an organization does not bring about the breakthroughs or the insights from data. What we believe is in true digital transformations, which include automation, which include providing and enabling, empowering people around analytics, advanced analytics capabilities, so that they can actually navigate intuitively through the data and find patterns, find insights, find breakthroughs. That's what we help people do. The other area we see that PSUs are struggling with is an imbalance in the way they have invested in their digital transformation journey. The intentions are good. Everyone wants to digitally transform, but there has been an increasing awareness that potentially there is a need to rebalance the way this expenditure has been made. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. A third area where we've been approached frequently is where there are overburdened data scientist teams or IT teams, because a lot of the work around data has been left with an elite few people with very erstwhile exclusive skills. And suddenly you need the skill to be built pervasively across the organization. So people have come to us to say, how do I pervasively enable and empower a workforce with data skills and not overburden my data scientists? Because data scientists are far and few between, and they're very expensive, they are difficult to procure, they're difficult to retain, and so forth. So we acknowledge, yes, there are data scientists who are really good with data, all the mathematical and statistical skills, but we also want to empower the general knowledge workers, or what we call citizen data scientists. Gartner calls them citizen data scientists. It's ordinary people like you and me who want to do extraordinary things with data. So these are some areas where we continue to help PSUs in dealing with the organizational data, right? So Helen Keller said this beautifully, right? She used to ask, what is worse than being blind? And her own answer to this was even more insightful. She used to say, it's to have the gift of sight, but no vision. Right? So beautifully said, because that's exactly what's happening here. We are awash with data. We have no shortage of data, but how much of that data are we using to drive our decisions, to drive our business, to derive insights, and beyond insights, to even derive breakthroughs to drive our businesses and propel them forward? I mean, I listened to the panel, and there was ample evidence of amazing stuff that the panelists have enabled in their organizations, right? The e-procurement, payments. I mean, I think India has far exceeded expectations in terms of fintech, health tech, and all of this, and very inclusively to tier 2, tier 3, and to rural India as well. So the pervasiveness of and the reach that the initiatives that the gentleman before me described are very, very encouraging, as I said. However, we continue to drive initiatives with organizations that truly believe that analytics should really drive insights and breakthroughs, and analytics should be for all, a true democratized environment where data, automation, and analytics is available to everybody, right? Easier said than done, because if the pandemic has taught us just 2 lessons, it has to be that it is possible to empower an entire workforce, no matter where they are, what they do, what role they play. The second important thing is that organizations that don't digitally transform, and I don't mean just digitize, but digitally transform, that means use data as an effective and strategic asset, may be left behind or may even fail to exist in future. I think the pandemic has clearly taught us that. And some of the examples and exemplary projects that were described earlier certainly provide evidence that PSUs in India continue to develop data fluency, data confidence, and data curiosity on a pervasive scale. And that's exactly what Alteryx can help. Now, what is even more interesting is that we find that worldwide, 92% of organizations that we work with have actually invested significantly and phenomenally in data-related projects, right? So there's no shortage of investment. And I'm sure, as we listen to the panelists, we know that lots of investments have been made. But what is strikingly obvious is that only 19%, feel that has enabled them to be truly data-driven. And that's a huge gap. And companies like Alteryx continue to try and address this widening gap. Because if you think about why is this so, what is causing the gap? It's simple. It's the lack of analytic skills. It's very hard to use products. It's poor access to data. It's slow and error-prone manual processes that organizations still grapple with. And there's definitely a shortage of data-empowered knowledge workers. So by continuing to address these 4 key areas, companies like Alteryx will continue to fuel that data democratization mission that we are on. And what's really interesting is, outside the commercial concern that a company like Alteryx is concerned about, we are equally passionate about empowering the student cohorts that come out of the huge institutions and the prestigious institutions that India has. So we continue to partner with the IITs, the IIMs, and the regular universities across the subcontinent, because India is a knowledge-based economy. There's this constant passion and intense hunger for knowledge and certification and new core competencies. So we continue to partner with these organizations to power huge cohorts of people who want to come on board this data journey. And through all these means, we want to build out that capacity that is, I mean, India has a huge population of knowledge workers. So where else do we build capacity? It has to be in economies like India, which will propel not just India, but the rest of the world as well.
So I'll go to Mr. Prasad. Having listened to Suganthi, what she just spoke about upskilling and bringing the digital literacy to the public sector organization, how RailTel has been mitigating the skill gap within organizations, and what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so in RailTel we have made training and certification as part of any procurement of solutions services. So whatever we do, for example, if we have a solution for backup and let us say replication. So we have basically certain mandates within the contract to basically train our people, and also few of those people who are you can say were inclined towards taking certifications. So we also include that as part of the procurement or in the contract itself. Second thing, what we did is we also have outsourcing. So we take people from the industry. We have a couple of people from industry, let us say for one particular technology, and our outsourced team as well as our own employees. And we make a hybrid workforce and see that this cohort type of structure, actually they learn from each other. And once they learn, then we build up a next level of team, because the technologies what were in the past, for example, system administrators, or now those things have changed to cloud architect, cloud engineering, and those type of roles have now come. Data scientists, for example, like how Suganthi mentioned. So these roles are changing. So basically, the conventional type of developer role also is changing because of DevSecOps type of processes which are coming in. So continuous learning or the cultural change in the organization, we have been trying to build that. It is definitely it is difficult. I don't say that we have been able to, but definitely we are able to work in the direction, get some success in that side. For example, we did for our SOC, we did a hybrid workforce where we had people from the industry, people outsourced teams, and also our in-house teams, and we got them trained using that particular approach. Also, we have been training our people through triple ITs, through IITs, and all special courses are there. Coursera, we encourage them to do Udemy, take directly certification from there, and we reimburse those the cost of certification. So these are some of the measures which we have been taking to upskill and right skill the teams. And also we have been trying to take from across other organizations. For example, our reskilling. For example, somebody is in telecom and wants to get into IT, and we do that as well. So these are some of the measures we have been taking.
Thank you, Mr. Prasad. Mr. Kumar, I'll take another point from Sugandhi's comment on using data analytics. So how are you basically leveraging data and analytics tool for better decision making, and also strengthening the digital transformation journey of GEM? Over to you. You have just 1 minute.
Well, see, as previous speakers have highlighted, that the degree of awareness among the government buyers towards the emerging technologies are slightly restricted. So what we are trying to do is to empower them and providing them a means a stepping stone. We have created certain services where the pre-built means certain basic nuances of the emerging technologies are inbuilt into the system, like blockchain and AI/ML, what I have earlier also mentioned. So these services do provide a set of basic terms and conditions and expectation from the service providers, which are already there on the system, and users can customize it up to a degree as per their requirement. So that is one way we are trying to do that. And specifically what we have mentioned about the data analytics, we are analyzing the huge amount of data that we have captured over last 5 years of GEM since its inception. And we are trying to build up and check over the organizational purchasing pattern and try to cater that information in a significant way to the seller service provider about giving them information that what kind of products are expected by which department. So they should keep certain stock available for them on a ready, quick to deploy basis. And one more point, just to quickly add, we have also introduced 2 more services like data annotation and data anonymization, which are quite recent technologies, and being they are means largely in demand by certain tech-oriented government departments. So these are certain actions what we have initiated in the recent past.
Thank you. I'll now go to Mr. Jha to understand how his organization is mitigating the skill gap among the employees. Over to you, Mr. Jha.
Yeah, but actually, we have identified certain projects, internal projects, and we have made digital champions. And we are taken this goal. We have given to the head of departments to enable them, and we are assigning them certain time, like second half of the day, for training. So they have to, few ideas like Tableau, R or Python or cloud computing and other things. Number of things that which will be helping us in executing the project. We have identified, and we are taking the feedback from them. We are encouraging them to learn and apply. So basically, data of transaction data is one, and another is from data from machines, which is basically level 2 data. Which is, and we have mix up for old and new machines. There are certain places we have to make provision for capturing data, and at certain places you have got huge amount of data, but you don't know how to use that. So now again that filtering and identifying and turning the data into useful information is a challenge. So that we are taking forward, and we, as I told you initially, we have number of units like in Durgapur, Bukaro, Rourkela, and all other places. These practices we done separately at different units, and then we once in a fortnight or one month we learn from each other what progress they have made, so that it can be replicated as well. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So this whole journey very intensely we are taking forward, and our people are being encouraged to. We are being sponsored for training, and then we are partnering with startups and IITs as well for academia, and with them also we are taking certain inputs, and we are encouraging the students from colleges to come here and study our processes and give some certain inputs. They are also quite enthused in providing certain information. During this vocational training, as also we are engaging with them. So it's a number of variety of the steps being taken to encourage people to reskill and upskill their journey to harness the benefit of this Industry 4.0 and the digital transformation. Thank you.
So now, as Suganthi said, we have very good data scientists across organizations and across the country. But we need to make an ordinary citizen, ordinary people aware about the use of and importance of technology and data. So what are your thoughts on this, and how NeGD is taking this thought forward?
Thank you. It's a nice question. Suganthi has brought out a very important aspect. Right now, NeGD is helping Madhya Pradesh state government in order to build the skills of the youth. And we tied up with the State Administrative Training Academy, and we are extending our e-learning support to the college-going students to build their skill sets in the emerging areas. So primarily, we identified 5 to 6 emerging areas skill sets, and NeGD is supporting, and more than 1.5 lakh students are enrolled in this program, and it's a very successful program. That is one example I think you can proudly quote. And other than that, what Suganthi's point I was really impressed is, it's time to think a new dimension in the economy called human capital economy. Our youth, we have our strength is we have a lot of youngsters waiting to deliver good things. Probably, if we can, as our Prime Minister rightly said, if we focus more on youth and build on skill set, they'll be very value and asset to the not only the nation, to the world perhaps. The entire world is facing the crunch of talented and skilled manpower. Hopefully, in this direction, if we can move towards, and I'm very sure that we are going to give a great delivery to the nation as well as to the rest of the world. So with this, I will also add with respect to NeGD. Other thing NeGD wish to focus is on the government initiative called iGOT. There's a wonderful program government has come up with to build the skills of government employees, whether it is central and state. It's a beautiful program. So what NeGD is looking forward, especially from my division, is we want to align with this vision of our government and cooperate instead of working in silos, and strengthen our e-learning ecosystem, so that it will be we'll be happy to serve as a service, like we call right now everything as service. We can call it as e-learning as a service. So we can offer our services for building this initiative and strengthening this initiative. And if it works out well, I'm very sure that most of the government employees, as you rightly pointed out, the existing employees need to be skilled and they need to be reoriented. The mantra of learn, relearn, and unlearn, we can make them as a continual learners of the skills, And instead of rule-based, will become a rule-based government organization. So I think this is very soon it is going to happen, and if we push towards this direction. Thank you.
So Suganthi, now you heard these PSUs, how they are adopting newest technology to support remote work and enhance the customer experience and business performance. So where do you see a role for Alteryx to manage and ensure the resilience of their technology? Your comments.
What Alteryx truly believes in is, as I said earlier, the democratization of the whole thing about automation, about analytics, about data, so that this strategic asset is in the hands of all the right people to take all the right decisions at the right time. So we believe in 4 principles, all start with E. So there are 4 E's that are going to enable exactly this democratization, right? And first is to make analytics easy. This means what took hours or days or weeks should be available at the snap of your fingers, right? Because that's the speed of analytics. The second E is to make sure that your analytics is able to cover everything. So it should not limit to the kind of data you can analyze. It should be all encompassing. And so the platform that we provide is truly one that encompasses all types of data. And we know that data is ever enlarging around us, and in all formats, in all frequencies, we need to be able to ingest that and deal with that. The third is we need to be everywhere. A platform like this needs to be everywhere, whether you're on the cloud, whether you're on premise, or somewhere in between, or constantly toing and froing. This platform needs to support you. And that's exactly what we believe in and what we do. And last but not least is the topic that we've been talking a lot about. It should be enabling everyone, not just the IT savvy. So through a low code, no code environment that can be enhanced with Python and R and all the advanced statistical features, this should be something that is very easy to embrace and people feel empowered with, right? So that's exactly what we believe in, because we are definitely living in a new economy, and an economy where analytics, automation, AI, and ML are definitely fueling every decision and digitally enabling businesses around us and organizations, PSUs included. And data analytics and AI is definitely at the heart of this transformation. So with the pandemic and all the geopolitical instability and dynamics around us, digital resiliency is no longer a negotiable option, right? It's not a nice to have. It's non-negotiable. It's a must-have, right? And organizations that work with us often say that what took them 5 years has just been accelerated. We talked about that, right? The whole pandemic has accelerated, and the digital transformation journey is like an upward moving escalator. You have to move upwards. Even if some organizations choose to move slowly or some employees choose to step down, ultimately the moving force will still move you upwards on that escalator. So it's about how fast we want to go. And every employee has a crawl, walk, run, fly journey, and we want to empower that, and we want to accelerate that journey for every employee, because the collective journeys of everyone in the organization is going to drive that digital transformation faster and in an upward fashion.
Thank you, Suganthi. And in one line, I would like to take closing comment by all of you. Mr. Prasad, what is the way forward while we are discussing the digital transformation journey, and a lot of acceleration has happened in last 2.5 years? What is the future, do you see?
I feel that we should, whatever we do, we should do right the first time, because the platform is extremely important, so that you don't have to really go back and forth. Digital transformation, as we see, most of the companies, software is all pervasive in whatever gadgets we use or whatever touch points we have in our everyday life. And through basically digital transformation, we can offer a good customer experience to the customers, to our employees, and also enhance the productivity and efficiency of the organization.
Thank you. Mr. Kumar, in one line, your closing comments.
Well, Arpit, I would say we are being projected as the center of IT hub for something which is fueling the entire world, and it will be injustice we'll be doing to ourselves if we don't, leverage that kind of IT skills what we have. So it is something which we should ponder over and just have a go and get it kind of an attitude.
Mr. Jha, I'll come to you now. Your comments?
This digital transformation no longer is option, it's a must. And you have to only have a speed. You have to identify areas and you have to execute, speed, encourage, collaborate, move ahead. I think there is no option left. If you don't do, then you have to repent later. When we have this bus in industry 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0, our industry 4.0 is there, and we have got a lot of talent around within our organization, outside, budding students, and the technology is very easily available nowadays. No book is required, YouTube and plenty of resources around, and there is no dearth of the inputs. So we have to take this and move forward. No other option. Thank you.
Mr. Rao, I'll come to you. Your comments.
For me, digital transformation is all about digital leadership, digital skills with human-centric design. Anything we design, anything we develop should be for the humans and for the humans, and then we will succeed.
Suganthi, it's your turn. Your closing comments.
Wow, everyone has said everything. So maybe I'll just say that digital transformation doesn't happen user by user or use case by use case. So be bold, be audacious, think big, do big, achieve big, because that's when the ROIs are visible and are going to move the needle on this journey.
With these thoughts, on behalf of ETGovernment, the Economic Times, I thank all the eminent panelists for participating in this special session on digital innovation at PSUs. With this, thank you so much, and thank you for participating in the panel discussion today.